A teacher's job should be to educate your child and also challenge their previously held beliefs. If a child goes into the school system and comes out knowing just the basics of cores of math and reading, and they believe literally everything that their parents believe, then I would say the school system did not do a good job in teaching the child critical thinking. I'm sorry. But we are going to get into the fan art section, as much as I loathe what I'm about to have to show all of you before we get into the next bit. So, yeah, this is a thing. Smacko says, first of all, I am sorry. Now with transparency and complete rights to right-click and use as you wish. Yeah. Right-click this so you can put it on your desktop and then move it to the trash bin where it belongs, as do all NFTs. The next one we have is from Shade Dragon. Everything is backwards. It's an Uno reverse Suris. And the last one we have here is from Mathematical Cabbage. They said, got inspired seeing people do soft colors for Suris. So Suris, but in the style of Naoko Tekeuchi. Sorta, kind of tried my best to catch the vibe. Honestly, it's adorable. It is adorable. And it almost washes the entire taste of that NFT Suris out of my mouth. As always, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. I've got a bit of a biased source for this, and we're going to read over what they have to say about it, but then we're going to read the actual bill itself to see if there's a reason that they're doing this. But so the title of this is Oklahoma bill would fire teachers for offending Christian morals by teaching biology, which sounds pretty unfair on its own. Subtext here says the bill would allow parents to sue teachers for $10,000 per incident per individual. The fine would need to be paid by the teacher from personal resources, and the educator cannot receive any assistance from individuals or groups, or they will be fired. That feels really weird. Like I said, we're going to read the article, then we're going to read the bill as a kind of a fact check on the article, because anytime you see one of these things where they say, aha, a new bill has been introduced, it says this, you should probably go read the actual bill. But don't worry, I have the actual text of the bill up here for us to read together. So we'll do that. But it reads, right here, Oklahoma Senator Rob Standridge has introduced legislation that would allow parents to sue any public school educators who would teach anything in opposition to closely held religious beliefs of students. Standridge has also introduced a bill that would give individual parents the power to demand the removal of any book from school shelves that they believe contains any LGBTQ content. Well, again, we will read the actual bill and see if that is what is being said here. While the proposed law is a reminiscent of religious edicts imposed by the Taliban in Afghanistan, they aren't backing down from them here. Let's continue. The bill would allow parents to sue teachers for $10,000 per incident per individual. The fine would need to be paid by the teacher from personal resources and not from any help. So if you don't have a lot of money because you're a teacher, yeah, that's, I mean, you don't have a lot of money if you are a full-time teacher. That's just generally how things work. You're not going to have $10,000 to pay. You're just fucking not. Which means if this is true, then functionally this would just remove teachers from there. But again, we need to read the bill. It says here, a biology teacher who explains evolution could be ratted out by a creationist who's failing science class. A health teacher who educates students about different forms of birth control won't be in that classroom for very long if an abstinence-promoting teenager is in the roster. A history teacher who correctly describes the founding fathers as a mix of religious and non-religious individuals could be target of a conservative evangelical who believes Christian pseudo-historian David Barton's lies. An English teacher who wants to challenge kids with controversial thought-provoking literature would be forced to stick to only the blandest books. Standridge's book banning legislation states that schools should be banned from carrying texts that cover the study of sex, sexual preference, sexual activity, sexual perversion, sex-based classifications, sexual identity, or gender identity, or books that are of a sexual nature. Dear fucking God, that is a wide net to cast. It claims these books must be banned because a reasonable parent or legal guardian would want to know of or approve of them prior to a child being exposed to it. I don't agree. Okay, so look, This idea that parents always know best where their children are concerned, I'm sorry, it doesn't always pan out. Some parents do know best where their kids are concerned. Some parents flat out don't. You can't just go, no, this needs to be something the parent should be able to decide on. For you to make that distinction, you need to have the ability to back up the claim that there's something bad about being gay or having, a different gender identity than what you're used to. You need to be able to back up the claim that that's harmful before we can put it in the category of things that need to be discussed with children by parents first. Moreover, if this applies to all public school libraries, then kids who've already been exposed to this kind of stuff in a sexual education course in middle school are not going to be presented with any information that's new for them. Nothing about that will be new, and most certainly not even harmful at that point. I don't know why this is the standard that we're going with, but let's keep reading. And again, we still got to read the bill. According to the bill, school staff would be required to move any such book within 30 days of a parent's request. If the staff doesn't comply, they will be terminated. Not only that, but they'll be blocked from being hired at any other public school for 2 years. What? The bill would also entitle parents who have requested the removal of a book to seek damages in the amount of a minimum of $10,000 per day for each day the book is on the shelves? Okay, by comparison, Jehovah's Witnesses have engaged in a series of sexual misconduct shit that has led them into a shit ton of allegations in court where they have been fined $5,000 per day for the last 8 years. $5,000 per day for an entire organization's sexual misconduct of sexual abuse versus $10,000 a day because I don't like that book. I keep on saying we're going to read the bill, because we are. But if that is actually in the text of the bill, then they are treating books that parents find offensive as worse than literal rape, based on the severity of what actually happens. Yes, the $5,000 a day was for violating a court order. The reason that they have to pay $5,000 a day is because they refuse to give information about their elders that have engaged in that sexual misconduct because of their idea that they're separate from the world. So, yeah, no, this is... Okay, anyway, let's keep on going. Standridge named the specific books that concern him, including the Trans Teen Survival Guide and a quick and easy guide to they-them pronouns, calling them over-sexualized. So... I'll just say this, there's a lot of people who are conservative, not all, but a lot of people who are conservative who cannot get the idea that gender has nothing to do with sex out of their mind. So anything having to do with gender would read as sex to this person, very likely. That is incredibly unhelpful. In a Facebook post, Standridge called the local school system to remove a book by Nobel Prize-winning novelist Toni Morrison called The Bluest Eye. The book tells the story of a young African-American girl named Piccola who grew up following the Great Depression. Set in 1941, the story is about how she consistently was regarded as ugly due to her mannerisms and dark skin. As a result, she develops an inferiority complex, which fuels her desire for the blue eyes she equates with whiteness. I'm struggling here to think of any parents that would read this to their child. This is just a raisin in the sun. But who here had to read A Raisin in the Sun in school? Who in my chat had to read that? Because I did. That was one of the books that I had to read. And while I think that it's just not a great book, I don't... Half the books that are regarded as classics, I just don't enjoy. I had to read A Raisin in the Sun, and this is literally just swap out young African-American girl in 1941 to a young Hispanic girl in, 1970? I think it was the 1970s when that book was set. And it's all the same stuff here. And that book literally included scenes of sexual assault to the protagonist. That was a book that I had to read in high school, and I didn't find it problematic or offensive then. And I still don't now. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. But this reads as nothing different than that. I don't see what the fucking problem is. So what parent would want a person they probably never hardly ever met and certainly whose belief system is unknown to read a recommended book with such a scene to their teenage child? You're literally just getting angry that teachers... have books they might recommend to people. And if the problem isn't even that the book is in a curriculum, their problem is that the kid has access to the book. Their problem is that the kid can find the book in their public library. That's their problem. Their problem is literally just they can find the book. It exists. Its existence is the problem, apparently. What? Goes on to say, it's a parent's responsibility and exclusive right to guard and censor what materials are appropriate for their child. I am certain that there are thousands of millions of other books that are much more appropriate, that we can save these books for once a child becomes an adult and it's free to pick their reading materials outside of the exclusive guardianship of their parents. Okay, cool. I'm sure you probably also want to ban kids from the internet too, but let's go ahead and read the actual bill. Because the thing with articles, and even articles on like LGBTQ Nation, they do tend to be very sensationalized. I want to read the bill itself, see what it has to say. I want to see what it has to say, and we'll see what it's actually going here. So, as introduced, an act relating to public schools, creating the Students' Religious Belief Protection Act, providing short title, providing public schools from employing or contracting with certain persons, authorizing a parent to bring certain actions, providing a sequence of remedies for certain actions. Okay, this is just explaining what the bill does in TLDR. We're not worried about TLDR, we're worried about the actual contents of the book, or of the bill. Bill reads, be it enacted by the people of the state of Oklahoma, the new law, a section of law not to be codified in the Oklahoma statutes reads as follows. This act shall be known and may be cited as the Students' Religious Beliefs Protection Act, a new section of law to be codified in the Oklahoma statutes of section 24159 of Title 70, unless there is created a duplication in numbering reads as follows. No public school of this state as defined pursuant to section 106 of Title 70 of the Oklahoma Statutes shall employ or contract with a person that promotes positions in the classroom or at any function of the public school that is in opposition to closely held religious beliefs of students. Oh, it's literally right there. They weren't sensationalizing that. It's literally right there in the bill. That's exactly how the bill reads. I'm just going to zoom that in so everybody can read it. But it literally just says, if you have a closely held religious belief, then you should be able to ignore truth. Okay. So if your religion says the earth is flat, then I shouldn't be allowed to say that the earth is round, which is factually fucking true? If your religion says the earth is 6,000 years old, I shouldn't be able to study radiometric dating or show my students radiometric dating? Okay. I can't see how that would potentially cause problems in any way, shape, or form. Let's continue. Notwithstanding any provision of law to the contrary, a parent or parents may bring an action as guardian, guardian ad litem, or next friend on behalf of a child against a public school of this state in a court of competent jurisdiction for occurrences when a public school promotes positions in opposition to closely held religious beliefs of the student. The remedies for the cause of action and pursuant of this section shall be available in the sequence as follows. So we begin with a petition for injunctive relief, whereby the school and applicable personnel will immediately be enjoined from the conduct resulting in the promotion of positions in opposition to the closely held religious beliefs of the student. If the school does not immediately comply with any relief issued by a court pursuant to paragraph 1 of the subsection, the petitioner may refile a claim for relief that the child that shall name any and all individuals participating, employed, or contracted with the school that they are directly or indirectly promoting positions in opposition to the closely held religious belief of the student. Any named person whose act or omission constitutes a violation of the section shall be strictly liable for damages at a minimum of $10,000 per incident per individual. All persons found liable for damages shall make payment from personal resources and shall not receive any assistance from individuals or groups. Any evidence of receiving outside assistance shall result in termination of their position and a stay placed on any reemployment with any public school position within the state for 5 years. It wasn't sensationalized. It reads exactly like that. E-Man, thank you for the follow. But yeah, no, it reads exactly. This is the bill as introduced. It reads exactly as the article said. This is so illegal that a lawyer doesn't have to read it? Well, here's the thing though, Sylvia. Things are only legal because they are not currently written into law. You can take something that is entirely illegal and make it legal by writing it into law. Yeah, the article undersold it. It's literally like it's. I'm flabbergasted. When I read articles like that, I expect them to be sensationalized. I go into the bill, and then I usually find that, okay, the bill kind of says that, but you have to actually extract some legalese for you to get that information. Except, no, that's not what happened here. It reads that immediately. So the TLDR there is that if you are a teacher and you offend a student, and the offense is deemed as a religious offense, then if you do not immediately make reparations or retract, then you are fined $10,000 per incident per day per individual you offended. Fucking bullshit. No, a teacher's job should be not only to educate, but also to challenge. A teacher's job should be to educate your child and also challenge their previously held beliefs. If a child goes into the school system and comes out knowing just the basics of cores of math and reading, and they believe literally everything that their parents believe, then I would say the school system did not do a good job in teaching the child critical thinking. I'm sorry. I expect there to be some disagreement that is gained once that kid has been taught and has learned critical thinking steps. But let's continue. If the school does not immediately comply with any relief issued by a court pursuant in paragraph 1 or 2 of this subsection, the petitioner may refile a claim for relief that shall name any and all individuals participating, employed, or contracted with the school that are directly or indirectly promoting positions in opposition to closely held religious beliefs of the student. A finding by the court of a violation made in the claim shall result in the termination proceedings of the individuals in violation and shall also result in a permanent prohibition from working in any way or being affiliated in any way with a public school in this state. A public school or an individual employed or contracted with a school subject to a claim made pursuant to the Students' Religious Belief Protection Act shall not have the limitations of liability or immunity provided by the Governmental Tort Claims Act. It being immediately necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, or safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exist by reason whereof this act shall take effect and be in full force from after its passage and approval. So he literally even writes this in as a fucking emergency proposal? What? What is this for? Who does this help? What the fuck does this do? What problem does this solve? I don't understand. My religious affiliation, that shit changed throughout high school because my ideas changed. Something that offended me in the 9th grade was something I accepted as normal by the 10th grade. Something that I thought was problematic in the 10th grade was something that I had learned to live with by the 11th grade. Being able to take a single student who learned how to be a good and proper Karen from their fucking soccer mom and then going, yes, no, the minute that you get offended, go ahead and call the teacher's manager and get them to pay $1,000 or $10,000 of fucking reparations. Do you think it's going to only apply to Christian students or even atheist students? So here's the thing. Atheism is not a religion. So it's up to the courts at that point. Jesus fucking Christ. And E-Man, I will move on from this topic when I deem I shall. Okay. So that begs the next question. We have an individual to look at. Standridge. We need to take a look and see Standridge. Let's take a look here. Senator Rob Standridge. I want to know, just as a thing here, let's go ahead. Senator Rob Standridge, I want to see on the issues. Let's take a look at his history. Let's take a look at that. Just real quick. Because I'm curious here. At the beginning of the 2017 legislative session, he served on the following committees: Appropriations, Energy, Health and Human Services, Judiciary, Rules. Okay, Energy Committee. So he's been a part of the Energy Committee for a long time. Sponsored legislation. He has sponsored the constitutional amendment. Clarifying this. Let's take a look at these two. clarifying certain voting requirements. Oh, that's awkward. A joint resolution directing the Secretary of State to refer to the people in their approval or rejection of a proposed amendment of Section 1, Article 3, Constitution clarifying voting requirement, prohibiting ballot title, and directing filing. Okay, that feels like it could end up being a problem, but I don't have any evidence to back that up. And then, of course, we have the bill we just looked at. Prohibiting governing board. Oh, wait, no, this is a different one. Prohibiting governing boards of private schools from requiring certain vaccination or vaccine passports. Oh, okay. So he's got an issue with vaccine mandates as well on kids, despite the fact that we've been using them for the past fucking 80 years and there hasn't been an actual problem. Apparently, it just magically became a problem now. Okay. So those are the bills in his track record up until the point of this one. He's got a few more in here as well. What do we have here? Practice of farmery, or pharmacy, municipalities, preventing the use of certain, providing certain definitions describing elements of an offense. Governmental tort claims. Oh, there's the Governmental Tort Claims Act, which is referenced in the bill that he put up there. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know this individual. It's not like Marjorie Taylor Greene, where I'm intimately familiar with half the shit they do. This is not somebody that I am familiar with, but based entirely on a little bit of their voting history, a little bit of the bills they have proposed or co-sponsored, and this bill that they seem to have proposed, not really a fan. Not really a fan, but this isn't about the individual. This is about the ideas presented. And the idea presented here is the idea that a teacher should not be allowed to challenge a student's beliefs, to challenge the biases that a student walks into that classroom with, that the teacher's job should be to reaffirm those biases. No, I do not agree. I don't think this is healthy, and I don't necessarily think this will pass, but it's Oklahoma. It's like Florida and Texas. You never know what's actually going to pass there and how nuts it will be if it does. You have no way of actually knowing that. I think the NFT ape service is less offensive than the proposed law. I don't know if I agree. Debatable, but at least it's not saying the war words. True. Okay. Well, with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always, the ending of this is always throwing the conversation back to you guys. If you find something in this bill that I missed, or if there's more information about this that I don't know, please let me know in the comment section below so that I can do a follow-up video about it. Past that, if you want to support me and what I do, please consider following over on Twitch, subscribing over on YouTube. If you enjoyed the content and you want to support my channel directly, the best way to do so is by hopping over to Patreon and becoming a patron over there. The secondary thing you can do right now is by hitting the star command if you are over on Twitch so that you can join in our fleet over on Star Trek Fleet Command, as they are currently sponsoring. With that said, though, as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here.